everyone please settle down?
I also request you all to please put your mobile phones on silent. Thank you. Many things we need can wait, the child cannot. Now is the time his bones are formed, his mind developed. To him we cannot say tomorrow, his name is today. With this lovely quote, we shall begin our day. Good morning, I Shreya with my colleague Insha would like to welcome you all our participants to Ensuring Foundation Enhancing Learning National Conference on School Readiness organized by Center for Early Childhood Education and Development. Perhaps you might not be aware about this institution. Ambedkar University was established by the government of NCT of Delhi. The university began functioning in August 2008. One of the fascinating things is that the AUD logo has a tree as its central motif.
And it's not just a tree. It's an organic system, rooted and stands for firmness, poise, dignity, refuge, wisdom, and yearning to reach out to the sky. There is a beautiful branch to this tree, a branch called Center for Early Childhood Education and Development, also known as CECED, of which both me and Shreya are part of. CECED was established in 2009 as an integral part of Ambedkar University. Over the 7 years, CECED has conducted significant longitudinal research in the area of early childhood care and education. It has also conducted on-request evaluations of many innovative programs and has publication which has been found to be useful for both policymakers and practitioners. The main functions of CECED are research, advocacy, quality promotion, and capacity building. Its vision is to promote systematic understanding of developmentally and contextually appropriate and inclusive early childhood education and development with a focus on early learning. And conference is an annual feature of CECED. CECED always has a special way for welcoming dear guests. This time, we have a collection of small books which can give them a little insight on children. For this, I would like to invite my colleagues, Monica and Anandita, to present this memento as a token of thanks to our chief guest, Mr. Manish Sisodia, and our speakers. Okay. Okay, all right.
Our speakers.
And our speakers, Dr. Jerry R. Behrman, Dr. Louis George Arsenault, and Professor Shyam Menon. Please.
Thank you, Monica and Anandita. Now I request our very own senior colleague, who is an assistant professor at Center for Early Childhood Education and Development. She is also faculty mentor for various projects related to language and literacy and early childhood education and development. She also teaches in the School of Education Studies at AUD, and my personal mentor, Dr. Sunita Singh.
Thank you, Shreya. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Center for Early Childhood Education and Development, it is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to you all to Ensuring Foundation Enhancing Learning National Conference on School Readiness. We want to thank you all for being here this morning and supporting the center and the cause of early childhood care and education. For this inaugural session on improving children's chances, evidence on early life investment, even though he will be joining us late, I still want to extend a welcome to our Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Government of NCT Delhi, Mr. Manish Sisodia. Mr. Sisodia is also the Education Minister for Delhi, and we are especially thankful for the dedication and his interest in education and the innovations he has initiated in the state. Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Louis George Arsenault, the UNICEF representative to India. Mr. Arsenault is responsible for the overall coordination, the development, formulation, and management of UNICEF country program cooperation. Welcome. Professor Jerry Berman, who is the W.R. Keenan Professor of Economics, Sociology, and Population Studies, Studies Center, and a Research Associate at the University of Pennsylvania, United States of America. Welcome, Professor. And I also want to extend a very warm welcome to our own Professor Shyam Menon, who will also be chairing this session. Professor Menon has been the first Vice Chancellor of Ambedkar University, Delhi since its inception in 2008. And his efforts has been the guiding force in bringing AUD to where it is today, and also for conceptualizing the future expansion. Professor Menon is an educationist. The vote of thanks will be delivered by Dr. Moni Malika De from the School of Education Studies, Ambedkar University, Delhi. And Professor Menon, if you allow me, I would present the concept note and go on. Thank you. The proposed conference has been organized and conceptualized around the concept of school readiness, which has been deemed as an area of much needed attention in researchers across the globe, in the Indian policy and curricular frameworks, and also in researches conducted by CECED itself. Given the national concerns in addressing the learning levels in the country, the 5-year longitudinal study titled the Indian Early Childhood Education Impact Study, conducted by CECED between 2011 and 2016 with approximately 1,200 children across the states of Assam, Rajasthan, and Telangana, provides compelling evidence that school readiness levels in the preschool years are connected with that of children's performance in the later years. The study also highlights the need for better quality preschool services for children for ensuring the same. And details of the study will be presented in the second session. The connectedness of the learnings across the age groups is also highlighted in evidence from neuroscience research. The continuum of learning and development indicates that the most sensitive time for brain development is between birth and 5 years of age, before children even start school, and the learning continues to build well within the early school years. And that is also one of the goals we are trying to advocate for through this conference, is to be able to break these silos across the age groups of preschool and primary. The connected many children, in spite of all these researches and evidences and the resources that go in to early childhood, many children still fail to reach their potential because of inadequate care and early stimulation, poverty, malnutrition, poor health, and poor quality early childhood education during the early years. This is due to diverse contexts, often exacerbated by inequities in services that children can access, variations in developmental patterns, and the inability of the school systems to provide care and educational experiences that are inclusive and supportive of the needs of the diverse learners. Given the research evidence, the conference also locates the concept of school readiness in the global discourse of education for all, the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009, and the reforms in the policy and curriculum related to ECCE projected by the Ministry of Women and Child Development in 2013. The national ECCE policy lays down the way forward for a comprehensive approach toward ensuring a solid foundation for every child. The quality standards for early childhood care and education and the early childhood education curriculum framework have also been developed along with the policy. While the draft, the recent draft national education policy also addresses the need for curricular reforms in ECCE, the connections of learning and development during the early childhood years with later learning levels is largely absent from this document. There is a need for much advocacy in this area. So for this conference, even though we talk a lot about the connectedness in terms of the learning levels, the school readiness here has been conceptualized in a much broader focus within a much broader framework, one that involves not just children, but also families, the environment, communities, and the school context. Within this triadic relationship, children are not innately ready or not ready for school. Their learning and development is influenced by their local environment and the interactions with families and communities before they step into the school system, which continues to shape this process. School readiness, in fact, needs to be addressed for children under the age of 3 as well, because learning begins at birth, and as indicated earlier, it is during these years that brain development is significantly shaped by the experiences available to children. So given this background of the research and the policy context, the main objectives of this conference are to promote understanding of the concept of school readiness from a threefold perspective. Are children ready for school? Are schools ready for children? And are families and communities ready for preparing children for school? To highlight the direct associations between school readiness levels of children at school entry and subsequent learning, to share and discuss some innovative initiatives in fostering school readiness within the framework of the threefold conceptual perspectives, and to make recommendations for ensuring systemic provisions for enabling all children to be ready for school. So this conference has brought together policymakers, researchers, state government, and civil society representatives, practitioners, media persons, to discuss and deliberate on the concept, the significance, and modes of addressing this key determinant of quality of school learning. So the 6 sessions that we have during these two days, the first session on Are Children Ready for School aims at sharing evidence of children's learning and development and linking learning levels in later school years with school readiness. The second session on our preschools, schools ready for children, will focus on comprehensive services that need to be provided to children and families. Session 3 on Our Families and Communities Ready for School highlights the role of families as the critical link in the provisioning landscape, and will bring forth evidence-based learnings and experiences from various innovative initiatives in this area. The fourth session on making preschools, schools ready for children will focus on how different organizations have been working across diverse communities to help connect the learning process for all children organically, and what learnings these experiences can offer to the larger system. Session 5 is a poster session from different organizations, including CECED as well. So we will get to see some of the projects that are ongoing at the center. And the session 6, investing and scaling up early education, will highlight the need for scaling up the learnings from good practices for systemic reform while also ensuring equity and quality. And the last session will be a presentation of some of the emerging recommendations throughout the 2 days. And hopefully we will also get some time and space for discussion at the end. Thank you. Professor Menon.
Thank you, Sunita. May I request Dr. Arsol to make his presentation? Whatever you prefer. You can sit here and make a presentation or go there, whatever you're comfortable.
We can keep it informal, no?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I thought it would be easier to speak from here. Well, I'm very pleased to be here today because perhaps I should also recognize the people on the dais, Dr. Jean Memon and also Mr. Haman from the University of Pennsylvania. Very nice to be with you today. And we also know that the Vice Chief Minister will be coming. In fact, we have had a discussion this week on this very subject together for about an hour. I think it was Tuesday of this week, where we had an in-depth discussion about what we are talking about in this important event today. And also I want to recognize Ms. Sunita Singh, who in fact has mentioned several things that she has already emphasized a few things. I just want to maybe make a few key comments. ECD is a subject that has been documented very well over the last several years. It has also been a very strong subject for UNICEF and other organizations to advocate for how critical it is to invest in early learning, the 3 to 5, and also preschooling, school readiness from 5 to 6, and how critical it is to see this as a continuum. I think I'm preaching to the converted in this room today. Clearly, I understand that very, very well. But I also want to emphasize that this is something that is easier said than done. I've been working in development for quite some time, and I remember having discussion 20 years ago in Mali in West Africa when we were looking at the reform of the whole education system. And 20 years ago, the evidence were not what they are today. I think we can say that. But it was difficult because the system was such in a bad shape to begin with, that it was difficult to convince any policy maker and also the political will to actually invest in the earlier preschooling and 3 to 5, because the system itself from 6 onward was so weak and so difficult. So now we have come a long way. I want to bring back some perspective. In 2000, I think it's 2000, UNICEF had a flagship State of the World Children report on ECD. And it was really highlighting the evidence at that point of how important it is, the points that we are making also today. But since then, there's been ample evidence how critical the investment in the 3 to 5, leading to a more robust input into the early years of the primary, and how critical this 3 to 5, 5 to 6 as a continuum, and also the 1 to 3, the 3 first years of primary, are in fact representing the foundation to keep kids in school. And as we know, there are reports which we are going to be looking today that up to 60% of dropout in primary education in India are happening before the end of grade 3. So it means that the fact that children readiness to be able to learn from 1 to 3 is weak to begin with, and the quality of learning is also it's also something that needs to be addressed much more. And I think there's a lot of discussions about this as well in terms of reforming the system. It is clear that not only if we want to address the number of out-of-school children and the dropout, the investment in 3 to 5 is going to be absolutely, it is key. We know that the government of India is really looking at this very seriously. There are, I think you mentioned also, Anita, Sunita, you mentioned that the policy environment that is more conducive. We know that the ECCE policy with the WCD, which was developed in 2013 with our support. We know that the RTE has also mentioned ECE, but not made it compulsory as the RTE. This is an area that we have been pushing very much with the Ministry, HRD, advocating for the RTE to be amended to include compulsory as part of compulsory education ECE. So these are the areas that we are focusing. We also know that by investing in what we call, what has been now called cognitive capital, that is the very early stage of childhood from 3 to 5, and also the school readiness, and is a precondition not only to address the quality of education, but to keep children in school and making sure that they will be better equipped to learn and stay throughout the system. So we have had a tendency to focus, and I'm saying this because I believe we have had a tendency to focus sometime on higher education a lot, and also in secondary education, forgetting that if we're not able to have the foundation right, if we're not able to keep the kids in school, well, we can invest in the pyramid on the top, but it's not going to solve the issue. So there's a lot to be said about why it is very important. And I think today, when I was looking at the agenda, there are many I think important aspects that are going to be mentioned. I want to highlight maybe one or two more. One is that there are also interesting research that suggests, from an economic perspective, that investing in solid foundational years for children, that there will be a high economic return in terms of employability, in terms of active contribution to the economy. These also are facts that have been very well documented with many research, and I believe this is also going to be discussed. Is going to be discussed today. Perhaps I can mention, and the issue of quality. I mean, we can spend 2 days discussing about how much investment needs to be made to really address the issue of quality of learning and pedagogy in earlier years, so it can really boost the appetite for staying in school, for learning, but also for the teachers. I think motivation, and also for the parent motivation to keep their kids in school. Another aspect I want to mention is when this is happening, and there are several very good examples in India where this is happening, where early ECD investment is being made, where ABL and CCE is being implemented from grade 1, 2, and 3 comprehensively, and with supportive supervision from the ministry and so forth. We see a difference. We see a difference in retention. We see a difference in learning, and we also see a difference in behavior. We see a different behavior of teachers. We also see a behavior of community and teachers, where they are starting to look at the public school as something that may have a future. And I want to also mention an example in Rajasthan some time ago, when we were visiting public schools, where they had invested a bit more on ECE, but much more on grade 1, 2, and 3. And as one of the proxy indicator was that after 1 year of intense ABL and CCE within, I don't need to, I think everybody understands this acronym, right?